From Kim Jong-un's personal toilet to North Korea's own basketball rules, here are 10 weird things that only happen in this country. When Kim Jong-un travels somewhere, he naturally has all the necessary amenities. Naturally. But the North Korean leader has some very special requirements for his travels and takes all precautions, including going to the bathroom. Of course, Kim Jong-un may feel the urge to go to the bathroom when he is on the road, but this does not seem to bother the North Korean leader because he has his own toilet which he carries with him, even in his vehicles, so he can relieve himself anywhere, at any time. This extravagance only accentuated the curious and singular side of Kim Jong-un, who would refuse to use public toilets, whether in his country or elsewhere. But no matter what anyone says about this, the North Korean strongman doesn't seem to mind and continues to take his personal toilet with him, as he did during the 2018 Singapore summit or during his historic meeting with his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in. In this way, he can be sure that he does not leave his feces out for everyone to see and thus prevent secrets about his health or other interesting information about him from being discovered. Never without his toilet, Kim Jong-un will be all the more peaceful. As the wife of the North Korean leader, Ri Sol-ju would be entitled to great luxury and all the unimaginable splendor. And like any young married woman and mother, she should aspire to a joyful life with her husband and children. Nevertheless, Ri Sol-ju is subject to a set of strict rules that she must follow. Indeed, this former cheerleader who reportedly married Kim Jong-un in 2012 was first forced to change her name after her marriage. She is also not allowed to visit her family members, nor to leave North Korea, let alone increase her public appearances or activities. As for her style of dress and hairstyle, they are carefully chosen and are rather traditional. Well, we can say that Kim Jong-un's wife has finally got her habits. Fortunately, she has not been deprived of the joys of motherhood. But then again, she was forced to hide her pregnancies and keep giving birth until she could have a son. Because Kim Jong-un, already a father of 2 daughters, wanted a male heir to succeed him, so Ri Sol-ju can afford to take a breath. But because of all these rules that make her life absolutely secret, the First Lady of North Korea has become a real mystery for many people. Do you like this video? Then don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all the notifications and not miss anything of our next publications. Let's continue. There is nothing to stop North Korean officials from indulging in some small pleasures, such as smoking. But when they need a cigarette, they may not find their favorite brand. Indeed, a few years ago, Kim Jong-un forbade senior officials to smoke foreign brands of cigarettes on the grounds that such an act was unpatriotic. Of course, the officials had to obey their leader's orders and smoke only local cigarettes, which he said were better. Fortunately, they were still allowed to smoke North Korean cigarettes, but it must have left a different and pungent taste, especially for those who were used to Marlboro and other foreign brands. Well, I'm sure they got used to it with time. But in my opinion, they must still feel a great disappointment at the idea of not being able to smoke as they please. Imagine that you are a tourist in Pyongyang, because yes, North Korea welcomes tourists, and you suddenly feel like eating a good pizza. But as soon as you arrived in this city, you noticed that there were no or very few shops offering typical dishes apart from noodles or the famous kimchi. You make the effort to look for it, and your efforts are not in vain because you finally find the only pizzeria in the country, reserved for the ruling elite and foreigners. You are happy but also disappointed to see that this restaurant does not serve the pizzas you are used to. This is normal since pizza was only introduced in this country in 2008, on the initiative of former dictator Kim Jong-il, who apparently liked this Italian food. This does not prevent you from enjoying your pizza concocted by a chef who was trained in Italy. A real privilege for this North Korean who was allowed to leave the country. You enjoy your pizza while watching images of military planes on the TV screens or while enjoying karaoke. Here is an experience that left a strange taste in your mouth. North Koreans are soccer fans, yes, like hundreds of millions of people on Earth. But when they want to watch soccer games, like during a World Cup, for example, they can only watch them at least 24 hours later. That's right. But it seems that they are perfectly used to it. For example, during the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, the inhabitants of Pyongyang had a giant screen in a square. They were able to watch the match between South Korea and Russia, not to mention the opening ceremony and other matches that took place, after more than 24 hours. This earned them a lot of sympathy from all over the world. The North Koreans were really to be pitied, because, how can one have fun watching a game that is already over and the whole world knows the result? But they didn't seem to mind, as long as they could enjoy the World Cup games and have fun cheering their favorite team. And in my opinion, they had a good memory of it. North Korea has much in common with South Korea, although they have not always been good neighbors. In 2013, for example, following the anti-North Korea protests in Seoul, Kim Jong-un's dictatorship decided to make threats against South Korea. The problem was that it did not have an effective enough means to do so. North Korea did not use email, and it had cut its only official telephone line with its southern neighbor after some tension. But North Korea still had a good solution at its disposal: the fax. Thanks to this, it was able to threaten South Korea with a ruthless strike, without any warning. Of course, this earned it a reply from South Korea, which deigned to respond by fax as well. Kim Jong-un's country could therefore be sure that its message had reached its destination. However, this only accentuated its image as a backward country. North Koreans are loyal citizens of the regime. In fact, during the parliamentary elections that take place every 5 years, they go to the polling stations to elect the candidates who will become members of the Supreme People's Assembly, i.e., the North Korean parliament. Except that the people of this country cannot really choose their favorite candidate, as is the case everywhere else in the world. In fact, there is only one candidate per constituency. Despite this, the North Koreans fulfill their obligations and go to vote. When the results are announced, they can finally know officially the name of the candidate of their district, who will have obtained 100% of the votes. This announcement may disappoint some people, but it does not prevent them from being happy and satisfied with having done their duty. Moreover, this participation in the vote, considered rather as a compulsory ritual in this country, will have only strengthened the loyalty of the North Koreans towards their regime. Kim Jong-un is a big basketball fan. The proof? He has always been an avid Chicago Bulls fan, and he is friends with basketball player Dennis Rodman. On the other hand, when the leader wants to watch a good basketball game in his country, he must certainly feel a lot of frustration because of the level of play of North Korean basketball players. But Kim Jong-un did not beat around the bush. Indeed, to remedy this uncomfortable situation, he established his own basketball rules. Thus, in North Korea, the baskets scored during the last 3 minutes of the game are worth 8 points. If the ball goes in without hitting the hoop, 3-point shots are worth 4. Dunks are worth 3 points. Finally, a missed free throw is worth 1 point. Thanks to his own rules, Kim Jong-un can enjoy good basketball games as he likes them, and even change the score of his favorite team if he wants to. However, he can be sure that these rules will not go beyond the North Korean border, because who will want to play a basketball game internationally with such rules? He can, however, be satisfied with watching games at home. Anyway, Kim Jong-un has proved that he is not only a dictator, because his passion for basketball has revealed his sporting soul. Here you are again as a tourist visiting North Korea, a country that fascinates you after all. Curious to know what is behind this country with a special regime, you decide to go to the provinces. You look at the countryside and the houses that don't look like the others, and all the children playing. You decide to take out your phone to take some pictures. And that's it. You've just taken some nice souvenir photos. But suddenly, someone comes up to you and asks you to stop immediately and delete the pictures you just took. You're confused all of a sudden, but before you start deleting all those beautiful souvenir photos, you ask for explanations. You then learn that in North Korea, you are not allowed to take pictures anywhere and of anyone. Only photos allowed by the regime, such as statues, certain neighborhoods, parks, the subway, mountains, or some beaches for example are allowed. Photos of people, houses, and many other things are simply forbidden, so you are disappointed not to be able to keep such good memories. Siti Aisyah and Don T. Hong, 2 young women from Indonesia and Vietnam respectively, were in the airport in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on a beautiful day in February 2017. But they weren't there to travel anywhere. Indeed, the purpose of their presence was to follow this man you see in this video. It was not easy for them to follow him through the crowded airport. Nevertheless, they kept walking behind him until they reached him, and then look what happened. In the video, you can see that one of them puts both hands on the man's face from behind. According to sources, Siti Aisyah and Don T. Hong then left the airport separately after washing their hands, happy to have pocketed a nice sum of money for participating in a hidden camera. But as a result of this prank, the 2 young women were arrested. Because what they thought was a hidden camera consisting in sprinkling oil on the face of this man they had been designated, was, in reality, a murderous act that they had just committed against Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of Kim Jong-un. As for the product used, well, it was an extremely powerful nerve agent that ended up killing him a few minutes later. After their arrest, Siti Aisyah and Don T. Hong appeared in court in Malaysia for a trial that lasted almost 2 years. But fortunately, the two young women, considered scapegoats, were both released after a few years in prison, a story that ended well for them. However, they will have learned not to accept to play pranks on strangers anymore. Kim Jong-un's homeland does nothing like other countries. You have just discovered 10 weird things that only happen in North Korea. But of course, these are not the only oddities that exist in this country. Do you know of any others? Leave us your answers in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.